tested it many times since. Some of the readings that I receive for a month, I try and go against. I try and do the exact opposite of what these readings say. And sure enough, flips it back around and it does what the reading says it will do. Or it backfires in my face. Hey, I'm Dexter from the DECAF Network, and today I want to ask you another question. Now, I've been doing a lot of asking of questions. It's only because I really want to answer them myself. And I'd be actually quite curious as to how you answer this one. The question is, how woo-woo are you?
What the hell?
Now, for those of you that don't know what woo-woo is, the explanation would be, I guess, having a belief in something that isn't a religion. I think that's my definition of it, which in itself is a little weird to describe. Woo-woo is spirituality, it's tarot cards, it's alternative healing therapies, it's Reiki, it's psychic readings, it's numerology, it's astrology, it's star signs. It's a lot of stuff that people can't really put a science to. It's crystals, it's belief, it's guides, spirits, it's even ghosts to a certain point. Funny how that word woo-woo is bound to those things and a whole lot more, but I've never really heard it attached to religion. Even though religion in itself is played with a lot of belief. You have to truly believe it. And is there evidence? Some people say there is, some people say there isn't. But for the most part, I think generally people, how should I say this without really offending people? People's beliefs are strong. And to the point where without accepting hard evidence, they can still believe. And I understand that. I applaud that. If people want to believe whoever they believe, great. I don't want to stop them. But how religion isn't woo-woo, to me, is I think it's all the same thing, really. It's all the same thing. And in saying that, I'm pretty woo-woo compared to many of my guy friends. Compared to some of my friends that are girls, maybe on par. I believe in a lot of things that most people either don't believe in, or they have no opinion of, or they don't even know. And for me personally, I am more interested in things just working, not exactly how they work. I don't need to dig deep into reasons why something works. If I choose to believe in law of attraction, if I choose to stop hanging out with a person because I feel that they might have a bad energy about them, and I can feel it inside, it's strange. I know of a handful of people that on paper I should be able to get along with, but for whatever reason, there's just this aura that they either emit, and I'm assuming I'm emitting as well, that they just don't match, they clash. You've come across people like that where you meet them for the first time and there's just something, I'm not saying it's not right with the person, but there's something wrong with the connection between you two. Even though that person could be the best person to everybody else. They could be the nicest person, they could be the most generous person, but for whatever reason, their energy and yours, they just don't mix.
Really?
So I'm not overly concerned about the science behind that, about why I might not like that person or why it just feels like there's something there. I'm not wanting to know why numerology for me works, why horoscopes sometimes work, why tarot cards work. And I fool around with a lot of that stuff. Tarot cards, I love tarot cards. I think they're awesome. I've got a deck myself and I pull cards when I feel I need them. And of the times that I've pulled them, they've worked.
Magic.
numerology. I've been into numerology now for many years. I think it's 6 or 7 years. And that was a result of some weird things falling in place. It was timing. It was me doing something I wouldn't normally do. It was me listening to things I don't normally listen to. And somehow I got listening to a podcast that just seemed to basically play to me. And that was, like I said, 6 to 7 years ago. I tried it out. It was a strange time in my life. And what was even stranger was the reading that I got from numerology, especially considering that what I was given wasn't something that was possible at the time. And I accepted it. I thought, okay, cool. Well, if she said that this is going to happen, we'll see. But in my head, I'm thinking, like, you're crazy, lady. This point in time, I just told you all of this stuff, and now you're telling me almost the total opposite in terms of this happening and that happening. I could not foresee that happening at all. And look, sure enough, it did. It happened as she said it would happen. Like I said, it wasn't something that was quite minor. This was a big change, and I wasn't trying to force this change that she was mentioning. In fact, it wasn't even a change that I had really planned for or what I was working towards. She just said that this is going to happen, and I said to her, I don't think so. And she says, it doesn't matter what you think or I think, this is what the numbers say. And sure enough, it happened. And I've tested it many times since. Some of the readings that I receive for a month, I try and go against. I try and do the exact opposite of what these readings say. And sure enough, flips it back around and it does what the reading says it will do. Or it backfires in my face. So I believe in numerology. Works, like I said, it works for me, a treat. It's still something that I'm a little bit apprehensive to admit to other people, only because it's kind of like religion. I was born in the Philippines, which is a very religious country. I immigrated to Australia. That is, at the time anyway, it wasn't considered a religious country. I think where I moved, hardly anyone went to church. And when I went through primary school, I think I was one of the only kids that went to church. I went to a public school. I didn't go to a Catholic school. My parents were Catholic. They were Christian, which is same thing really. Because my friends didn't go to church. So it's not like, I could talk to them about it. There was Sunday school at the church that I was going, but I only saw those kids like once a week for maybe 30 minutes or so. So they really weren't my friends. And it was something that was, at the time, a little bit hard for me to believe. And, my parents, I love them so much. They made us go to church, my sister and I, but they allowed us to explore our kind of beliefs once we sort of hit 18. But, they really didn't force us to, not so much to believe, but they didn't, how should I put this? We weren't forced God and the church as much as what I've seen other people do to their kids. So it was something that I kept quiet. So when I talk to people about me being kind of woo-woo-ish and believe in spirituality and talking to guides and spirits and all of that sort of stuff, it's still a little difficult, and it feels very much like that same energy. And, the funny thing is, how they say like attracts like? I would say that the last dozen or so people, maybe more, maybe 20 or so, that I've kind of opened up to about spirituality, about numerology, about alternate beliefs, about, Eastern philosophies and just all stuff that isn't science-based, they believe in some of it too, which is pretty cool, which is pretty awesome, because these people that I've kind of opened up to, some I've known for a while, others I've only recently met. But on the outset, and look, I do understand the saying, never judge a book by its cover, but it's hard to do, right? Everyone does it. These people that I've opened up to, they don't look like the spiritual type at all. They're not woo-woo by any means. And a lot of people think of woo-woo, they think of, sandals and tie-dye tops and long hair and, like beards and excessive body hair and smells and all that sort of stuff. And look, that's still the case. But, the more that I talk to people about this stuff, the more I find they're open to it or believe in it. And I think it's really cool. And I think in Australia especially, there's probably a little bit more room for spirituality, maybe say, than in other countries. Because a lot of other countries already have a religion built into them. America is very, it's very Christian, it's very Catholic. Philippines is Catholic. Middle Eastern countries, they have their religions. In European countries, they have their religions. And Asian countries, they all have kind of their religion already. Whereas Australia, I think it's meant to predominantly be a Christian country, but we're a country of immigrants. We're a country of people that have come from other countries and bringing their beliefs. So we've got a mishmash of all different types of religions and beliefs and all of that sort of stuff. So technically, I think we're meant to be Christian, but honestly, there could be as many Muslims as there are Christians. It wouldn't surprise me if that was the case. So having said that, because there is not that real one definitive absolute religion, like I said, sure, it might be Christian, but I don't see it. You look at America, professional sports people and famous actors and actresses and musicians, but they win an award, what's the first thing they do is they thank God. I think that would be a very, very long time before that kind of reply comes out of an Australian person's mouth, if at all, really. So thinking of Australia as a very religious country, for me anyway, I never saw it, and I don't think it will be for a very long time.
Don't cry, don't cry. Don't cry, it's going to be okay.
So, having said that, there's probably room for spirituality in Australia because there isn't that kind of default belief in any one religion. Like I said, any other country, if you're going through a tough time, you pray, you go to church, you go to a mosque, you go to places of worship to ask for help because that's what they do in that country. Whereas in Australia, what do you do? Especially if you're quite traditional, where there's generations of being born in Australia that have never gone to church, and when the chips are down, and they've not found any kind of religion through those generations, where do they look for guidance or for support or to answer some questions that they might have? It could be about life. It could be about trying to get out of a bad situation. It could be if a family member is sick, do they pray? I'm not sure. And that's where I think spirituality could come in. And so it's not surprising to me now that I think about it and talk about it at the same time, to see that there are a lot of people in Australia that I'm seeing and talking to where they say, yes, I believe in a form of spirituality. I believe in this kind of Eastern traditional medicine that isn't, just taking drugs and pills and that sort of stuff. I believe in talking to my mother that had passed away, and she answers me, I believe in all of that sort of stuff. And I like that. I think it's really nice. And what I would love more though is for more people to share it and to be open about it, and to not be ashamed, because I still think that most people are. I still am to a certain point. I have a close group of friends, and most of them don't know that I'm into this stuff. Some of them are atheist. Some of them have their own religious beliefs. And I think people are mindful of that. If people are religious and they're your friends and you don't share that same religion, that it just not get discussed. So most of my older friends, most of the friends that I've been friends with the longest don't know. And and again, sometimes I don't care to talk about it. I'm not trying to convert them at all. And it's never really come up for discussion. But that's cool. I love meeting new people, and I love trying to find opportunities to talk about it, to see what they believe in. I'm curious now because it's worked well for me for so long that I'm interested to see who else is kind of in this. It's almost like a secret society that many people are a part of, but no one has really created this like secret handshake to tell each other that they're part of the same group. So yeah, so that's my take on it. The question was, how woo-woo are you? My answer was, out of 1 to 10, I'd say I'm a 7 or 8. You know, there are a couple of people out there that are way, way, way more woo-woo than I am. And that's cool. Good on them. Like, whatever makes them happier. All right, I think that's all for today. Dexter Eugenio from the DECAF Network. If you'd like to find out more about what we do, we help people achieve their goals. So you can visit everywhere.thedecafnetwork.com, and I will see you on the next video. Thanks. Bye.